Hi everyone, Nubkeks here. Excuse the messy hair and everything. This is just going to be a real talk video. A quick down and dirty real talk, giving you my thoughts on one of the big news stories from the last week from World of Warcraft. I'm just back from holiday, which is really nice. Um, but just before I left was when the whole sexual abuse and sexism scandal started kicking off in Blizzard. So that was just before I left, had started, and obviously more stuff has come out over the week I've been gone. But the news story I want to talk about today is a couple of the biggest content creators for World of Warcraft ever in the life of the game, announcing that they're quitting the game within, I think, a couple of days of each other. So that's MadSeason Show, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, WoW content creator for classic WoW, certainly. I think his video about him quitting is almost 1 million views at the time I'm recording this. And then Preach, Mike, quitting retail World of Warcraft, who's been one of the biggest and oftentimes the biggest content creator for retail World of Warcraft, again, for years, that he's quitting WoW, that he is done. So I want to give my reaction to some of the stuff they were saying. I'm going to agree with some of it. I'm also going to disagree with some of it, which is always a little bit scary, when there's bigger content creators than you. The fan bases can be a scary thing. Not always good to criticize them. But hey, look, I'm going to tell you what I think and just take it for what you will. It's just what I think. So how much you value that is really up to you. Let's talk about Preach first. I agreed with Preach more. A lot more of what Preach was saying resonated with me. For him, the last straw, the straw that broke the camel's back, was the abuse scandal, and I think that's totally fair. But it's the last straw on top of a whole bunch of otherwise existing straws. His main criticism, I think, which is very fair, is that for years now, a lot of the content in World of Warcraft has been, I think his words were half-baked content. Content that's kind of rushed. It feels like it's rushed out, feels like it's not finished. And then it just sort of gets thrown away. So again, the things that really stand out to me for this are kind of these expansion systems like Warfronts, Island Expeditions, Torghast, all of this sort of stuff, which doesn't reach its potential, was another word that he used for it. It doesn't reach its potential. I think that's totally fair. I think it is really time hopefully for World of Warcraft to make a change, a big change. I've seen Asmongold talking about this as well. Again, I half agree with what he says, but I think he does make a good point that, well, actually, I disagree with his point. He says that, I think Asmongold says that the World of Warcraft dev team are complacent and lazy, and I actually disagree with that. I think that's a misreading, a big misreading, putting value, like a moral value, judgment into something that's, I don't think, there. What I do think is much more likely is that for Activision Blizzard, that the guys at the top are telling the dev team it's like that the cure could be worse than the disease, right? In other words, what I'm saying is that players are giving out about the game and they're complaining about the game, but still, it still sells really well. It still makes them tons of money. If they go in and they make radical changes to the game, it could actually drive more people away. It could actually lose them money, even if it does end up being an objectively better game, I think, from the perspective of gamers. It could alienate, hardcore WoW fans who've been playing for years and years and years. I think that has been the biggest issue, that, it's been kind of stale content, right? BFA just felt like Legion 2.0, and now Shadowlands feels like Legion 3.0. It's just the same stuff happening the same time. It's like, okay, here's the patch, the 0.1 patch with the invasions. Here's the 0.2 patch with the new zone. Here's the new power system. Grind out the new power system. Grind the new rep. Blah, blah, blah. It just feels like it's kind of a hamster wheel just spinning in place and never going anywhere. And you're just doing the same things over and over again. And it's predictable. There's nothing new and fresh and exciting that grabs you. Nothing new and different that makes you go like, wow, I'm really excited for this. It's just like, oh, this looks like a cool new version, like some cool new zones, a cool new raid. But it's like the same exact structure that we've been doing for the past few years. I think that these guys quitting and just the outrage, the general outrage right now, I think that WoW is probably going to hit an all-time low. And this might be the catalyst that actually does push for legitimate change. The question for me is, how quickly can they actually implement that change? They're obviously behind schedule. When can they actually have a decent change? Like, come in with a new expansion and be like, yo, okay, this expansion actually This one's going to be different. We're going to do something completely crazy, completely different this time. Go in a different direction, really expand a bunch of casual things and not focus on like these power systems and stuff that really obviously isn't engaging our players. Let's have more long-term, like creative things to explore. So, I mean, one example, they could put in like a music system like Bards in Final Fantasy 14, where you can, play your own music in the game and just populate like walk through cities in that game and you just find people like listening to concerts and stuff. People perform concerts. It's really cool. Stuff like that, which is just about the world. Yeah, they could start putting some of that stuff in. But it's a question of how long it takes. For me, I would not be shocked if they delay the next expansion by a year. Like typically the next expansion would be coming out, in like August, September, October, November, like end of the year, and just a matter of a few months, I guess. Or sorry, another year after that, isn't it? Yeah, sorry, another year after. Duh, I'm dumb. But about a year and a little bit away, right? We're the start of August now. It will be a year from now, will be roughly the release date. They're not going to be able to completely change the game by then. It's not going to happen. Even if it was November, it's still not going to happen. I wouldn't be shocked if they delayed it an extra year. They pulled the Warlords of Draenor on it and said, look, this expansion is just going to be dead. It's going to be shitty. But the next expansion, we're going to come in with a whole bunch of new stuff and it's going to be awesome and actually win players back because they're driving so many away at the moment. So we'll see. But yeah, that was stuff that Asmongold, I'm going all over the place here. Sorry, I'm on tangents galore. So sorry. But yeah, that stuff that Preach said, that did resonate with me for sure. I definitely agreed with that. 100%. At the same time, Preach did have a few things to say that I disagreed with or I have a slightly different take on. So I guess the one closest to that first point was Preach was saying that he just has nothing positive to say about the game. And, I've been there as a content creator. Like, I did Heroes of the Storm for years. Some of you guys will remember that. I was very proud of my Heroes content for maybe the first year or two, probably the first couple of years. I was very proud of it. I really was. And I thought I can look back at it and say, I did a good job at that stuff. I don't feel like my Heroes content for the latter half of whatever covering Heroes is all that good because they really slowed down with their content releases. And I've been playing the same game basically for a few years at that point. So the burnout was real. And I got, looking back on it, I feel like I was way too negative, critical. Trying to stream and I just would rage a lot on streams and stuff like that. And it wasn't good. I don't look back on that with very much pride at all. And I think that's just something that does happen to content creators. Like you do get burnt out playing the same thing over and over again. Like you run out of content and yeah, you can become, for some people, me for sure. And it looks like for Preach, become very negative. As he was saying, he felt like he was very negative in BFA. He could just keep going with Shadowlands, but he'd be really negative again. He said he didn't want to do that. And I fully respect that. I think that's a great decision. It's the right decision, but it's obviously a very difficult decision to make because it's coming from a place where you feel invested in a game. He has been the WoW guy for pretty much his whole life, basically. He's been the WoW guy. Like, that's who he is. It's very hard to step away from that. And, he employs people to work on his channel to cover World of Warcraft primarily up until now. He has jobs riding on the line. He supports his family, all that stuff. So he's a ton of stuff invested into this stuff doing well that sort of keeps him in that place. But yeah, it can be negative. It can sort of fester and be really unhealthy. So I think it's definitely good that he is taking a break. When you reach that point where you say, I have nothing good to say about the game, that's not the game's fault anymore. That's a problem with you, right? That's a problem with Burnout. You could say that overall I don't enjoy the game, but if you are not able to say anything positive about something, it's like that just means that you're in a super negative place, which isn't good. And it's not a true reflection of reality. Now, it reminds me of years and years ago. I remember there was a female YouTuber. I don't even know if she does it anymore. It was at a conference thing I was at. And she was talking about stuff. But I think she was talking about, she's like, I just don't understand how anyone could be right wing. She's talking about the United States. I don't understand how anyone could be on the right wing. I just don't understand it. And it was like, that's it. That was the cutoff point. It was like, if I don't understand it, there must not be a reason. It's like, no. But loads of people are. They obviously are. So if you don't understand it, it's not that there's no good reason, it's that you have failed to understand the reason, right? It's a lack in you of your knowledge. Go out and learn, right? Be open-minded, go and learn, figure it out. You don't have to agree with it, but you need to understand it. I just thought that was funny. That was a fun throwback. But yeah. Then also another thing that Preach was saying, and I watched his stream clip, but he was very angry at one of the Blizzard employees who used to work on Heroes of the Storm, actually, for saying that, people being really negative and pressuring the devs for content coming out slowly were part of the problem, and Preach was super negative about that. And again, I actually disagree. I do think that the WoW community can be and often is a big part of the problem. That's just my take on it, right? I think that the WoW community is very negative, very critical, very entitled, very demanding. It's not always very pleasant. That's my thoughts. There's a lot of great people in there, but then there's a very strong voice, a very strong throughput of people that just are there to hate the game. They're there's some years. If I told you there's a big audience for hating the game, especially like on YouTube, for example, would you be shocked? Probably not. This is well known. So yeah, and I don't think that's healthy, and I think that has a negative impact for sure on both the developers and all the players too. I don't think it's good, and it's often sort of encouraged, and yeah, it's off-putting for me for sure, and I do think that if anyone could point that out and say this isn't good, and they're true, it's right, it's not good. I don't know how that will ever fix itself. I really don't. And like I said, I think that some of it does come from that place where, like if I pick up whatever game on the Switch, like the new Mario game, like I pick up a Mario game on the Switch, if it doesn't live up to my expectations, I'm like, that's unfortunate. I'll enjoy it for what it's worth, and then I'll move on and play something else. It's not a huge deal. Whereas I think with WoW, like so many people that are into WoW, they just invest like their whole being almost into it. There's so much going into it. So when it doesn't meet up to their expectations, it becomes this massively negative thing, this huge negative energy with a whole bunch of moral judgment tied into it. And it's not good, right? It's not good. Yeah, whereas when you're free to just go, well, I didn't really like that one. I didn't really like that TV show. I didn't like that book. Didn't like that game. All right, it's not for me. I didn't like it. I didn't think it was good. Grand. I'll just go watch something else, do something else. When you have that freedom, that flexibility, you can have a happier time. You can. To talk briefly then about MadSeason as well, a lot more of the stuff that he was saying didn't resonate with me at all. I thought his video was a little bit weird. It felt to me he spent a long time talking about like the WoW token and sort of pay to win aspects of the game, which to me, I just don't really strike me as a particularly tangible thing. Obviously they are to him, but to me it's not a particularly big deal. I did stop and I did think about it. I said, to be fair, like to me, like the biggest achievements in WoW is like pushing those really high Mythic Plus, like the guys in the MDI, right? The guys in the Race to World First and Mythic rating, like really pushing hard. The guys pushing PvP ladder, like that stuff is skill, right? It's all about that skill, and it's about that competition between other players, cooperating with other players, and that's all skill, and you can't buy that. Like you can't buy that. But I think it is fair, for most people who play the game, like if I'm, which I was for years and years, like if I'm a heroic raider, and we're like in a heroic progress team, if I'm going through that stuff and then there's some dude that, after we do our couple of heroic bosses on progress, he can go out and he buys a boost for the rest of the heroic bosses. Then he goes and he buys a mythic boost and he's getting all this extra gear. But yeah, it can definitely feel bad for sure. I think that, this player will outperform you and there's nothing you can do about it. They just have more gear because they bought it. But I don't really see that as a huge thing, to be honest. He certainly does, which is interesting. He's only, as far as I know, I think he said it in his thing, for months now, he's been just a classic only player. And I think that stuff matters a lot more to classic players. One of the things that I found very off-putting as well was, because he brought it up in his video, was that he's really against the boost for TBC and how this is ruining the game and taking away from it. And again, for me, as someone who has almost no interest in classic WoW, I played about 30 levels of classic WoW, which is about 5 levels too much. I really enjoyed like 1 to 20, maybe to 25, just kind of role playing, enjoying the experience. And it was fun for a few weeks. And then I was done. And that was me done. And it was good. And I had a great time. It was really fun, actually. But that was me good. I was done. For me, as that very casual interest, looking at TBC, Burning Crusade, or looking at Wrath or whatever, I'm really not interested like in leveling, getting that character and leveling them up from 30 to 60 to get into TBC. Like for me, that boost thing that they're selling, I'm not going to play it. I don't have any interest, but if I was going to play it, you know what? Maybe that is something that I would buy and I'd like to buy and I'd be glad it's there, Just, hey, I just want to go and relive a bit of my childhood, right? Check out some Burning Crusade stuff, go through some of the zones, do some of the dungeons, do a bit of arena, whatever, just casual stuff. But just whatever, yeah, buy the boost, get into that content and go through it. I mean, it's old content, it's an old game, it's a remaster of an old game, you know? For me, it's not a big deal. So for me, it's very off-putting. And again, on a community level, it's very off-putting to, again, feel that moral judgment coming at you. You might be like ostracized. It's this real feeling of gatekeeping, of like that. It's like a cult, you know, like this elite club that this is our game and you're ruining our game and our experience. It's like, yo, dude, I just want to, you know, maybe I just want to come and like check out a game I played when I was like a kid. That's it. You know, that's really it. I'm not ruining your game, man. I'm just having a decent time. I think that's okay. But yeah, I didn't like that. It's something I don't. That's another community thing that I really don't like. I really don't like that. But yeah, that's my feeling on it. But yeah, there you go, guys. So, I mean, let me know what you thought of the two videos and all of that, and the guys leaving. Like I said, it's a huge blow to the community. They're both phenomenal creators. They made incredible content over the years, like really insanely good quality stuff, incredibly passionate and driven people. So it's a huge loss, and wish them all the best, though, in the stuff they do in the future. I'm sure they're going to do incredible stuff in the future as well. That's what I think. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good day. Bye-bye.